Right. Hello, hello. Just testing here, getting on a little earlier before the 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. or 8 p.m., wherever you're at, challenge. Things are looking good, and we'll be starting pretty soon. So hang on tight. If anyone is there right now, give me a yes, a thumbs up, whatever it is. Just let me know that you guys can hear me well. All right, testing, testing. It's almost 5. We'll give it a few more minutes here. Perfect. Looks like everyone can hear loud and clear. How's everyone's day going? Things a good question to ask before we get started. Can start to share this too. Welcome, welcome. If you're filtering in, settle in. It's gonna be a fun time. I have some pretty exciting stuff to share. Excited to be here. Happy to be here. Hope you are as well. And yeah, how's everyone's weekend going? It's a Saturday. Had a nice rest day. We'll be starting in a few minutes. I'm just giving it another minute or two here, and then we'll be getting into day number 2. If anybody attended day number 1, give me a little like hell yeah in the chat or anything. We're excited to continue where we left off. It was really fun yesterday. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. So I'm hoping that everything is going to translate and cascade into today. It's going to be pretty exciting. I'm really excited here. So yeah, hello, hello. If you're just joining, we'll be starting very soon. Give me a little thumbs up if you guys were in day 1, if you liked it, any comments or anything, feel free to let me know. I'm kind of an open book. In fact, I like to just hear from you guys and really see what you guys think, basically, because ultimately the whole point of this is to give you guys the tools you need, to. Alrighty, nice. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Perfect. We'll be starting really soon here. I think we'll give it just another minute here and then we'll go from there. So grab a drink, some tea. I like tea, coffee, if it's not too late, whatever you want. And yeah, just kind of settle in. Alrighty. I think we should be good to start right now. So, hi again, everybody. Welcome to day two of the challenge. My name is Christian. If you were here yesterday, you probably already know me. Yeah, I am basically trying to understand and solve this problem of burnouts that a lot of people are feeling. I think it's something that a lot of people feel, but we don't talk about enough. So this is essentially my solution to this problem, something that I've trial and tested through my own experiences and with other people that I've interacted with. And yeah, I'm excited to share what I've learned with you guys. So yeah, no more wasting time. Let's get right into it, shall we? It's gonna be fun. All right. So, welcome to day two. Before we start, however, I do want to talk a little bit about day one, because the goal for day one, at least the goal for yesterday, was that I'm hoping that it helped you develop one very crucial skill, which is self-awareness, right? We have to be aware that there is a different path to the future. Because I think a lot of people, especially if you're here right now, most likely you feel stuck, you're not sure what the next steps are, and you might even have accepted the reality that you're in. But that first step is having the self-awareness to tell yourself, like, okay, I can't control a lot of things, so I have to control what I can do, and I have to believe in myself that there is a path forward, right? So it's all up to you. Because if it doesn't start with that, if you already have given up before you even like got started with the game, with the gameplay loop, then obviously nothing's going to change, right? So that was the foundation of day one, at least, to kind of introduce the gameplay loop, how it actually looks like, and to really bring this sense that it's up to you to kind of make a difference in your life. So that was at least day one. If you guys liked it, any questions, you can ask in the comments, let me know too. Yeah, but basically, it was a really important lesson, and I'm hoping that we'll bring that foundation into today's challenge. So let's get things going. So day two today, we're going to be diving a little deeper into the gameplay loop framework. And just as a little like reminder here of the gameplay loop is basically I want to start talking about how we can start to use this framework. Because yesterday I was just introducing it. It was a lot more mindset purpose based essentially. But today is more practical, right? We want to start taking action right now. We already know, we believe in ourselves, whatever it is, but what do we need to do? And that is going to be the big topic of today's challenge. So quick reminder of the gameplay loop again is essentially this loop where you're always going to take on new challenges, right? Because that's what keeps things exciting, keeps things motivating. Then ultimately you need to level up, you need to grow in the process, and eventually you get a reward that you need. But it doesn't just stop there. You take that reward, you take whatever you get, and then you bring it into that next challenge again. And this keeps things exciting, keeps things motivating for the long term until you essentially get to where you want to go. So that is the gameplay loop, and that's the framework that I'm basing everything around. And again, as a quick reminder, if you need any sort of clarification, if things weren't clear, you just have more specific questions, you can still book a free one-on-one clarity call with me if you just need more guidance. This is something I'm doing for a limited number of, just a limited time only, just for me to really get to know you guys, get to know the problems that you guys are having, and really start to understand, or actually bring more clarity to what we're discussing here. So just want to put it out there really quickly. So day one, we covered secret one of the gameplay loop. It was basically on focusing on what you can control. So today, let's dive into secret number two. And here we go. Secret number two is you have to get comfortable with failure. Now, failure is one of those things, I believe, that many people suffer from not exactly failing, but the fear of it, right? Because it's not really the failure that we are scared of, but the anticipation that we may actually fail. But the reality here really is that you have to be okay being bad at something until you get good. I think this is something that everybody knows, but it's hard to put into practice, right? It's very obvious that if you've never done something before, you're going to suck at it. But the goal is to like be okay sucking for a long time until you get good enough to actually get good at the thing. And I actually came up with this concept because back to that my video game like hobby, I guess, is that the games that really excite me are the games that kind of kick my ass, right? But the thing is, every time I lose, every time, I lose a level, get defeated, whatever it is, I get a little bit better, right? So that failure is part of the process, is part of what makes the game fun. So you have to think about it that way. So it's very important that you understand this because it helps you reframe challenges in life. I think many of us are afraid to live a life with challenges because we're like, I want things to be easy. I don't want to do things that are difficult. I don't want to do things that are difficult and hard, right? But we have to reframe challenges to this new mindset to actually accept it, embrace it, and see it as potential for growth. So I want to talk about the purpose of challenges, right? Because as human beings, it is in our nature to seek the path of least resistance. I don't know about you, but if there is a shortcut way to do something, I would choose to do it, right? But we have to go against that instinct. We have to do our best to understand that I know the easy way is the easy way, but I have to find an alternative path that is going to be filled with challenges that are meaningful to me. Because ultimately, you want to put yourself in a situation where it's not just a possibility you may feel, but a high probability. Because without failure, there is no growth. Because failing doesn't mean you lose or anything like that. Failing is simply that you're trying to do something and trying to grow at it. So failing is actually a good thing, unlike what a lot of people tend to think about it. So I want to kind of take a moment here, just to pause, and I want you to reflect on your journey up to this point, right? Wherever you're at, maybe you have a family, maybe you have a career, maybe you're working on something right now, but just kind of pause, reflect on your own journey. Your best achievements weren't easy. Your hardest moments were built on your great achievements, right? Every meaningful thing that you've achieved in life, you probably went through an extended period of hardship. You worked really hard for it. And that's what really brought meaning to that thing. If something was just dumped and given to you, it would have lost its meaning because everybody could have had it. It wouldn't really feel that you earned that thing. So just pause a moment, reflect on your journey, and really think about it. Challenges are the key that made you who you are. And there you go. Challenges bring meaning to life. Without challenges, nothing is worth having. And ultimately, you are built based on the challenges you have overcame. I am an occupational therapist. I work in healthcare. I went through a lot of hardships in order to get that degree, and that defined who I am. I am also a husband with an amazing wife, but I also had to go through the process of trying to survive the relationship, compromise, and all these kind of things. But it's those challenges that made me who I am. So no matter who you are, just understand that the purpose of today's call is for you to reframe challenges and how we're going to tackle it. But we do need to start with the elephant in the room because I think a lot of us know that we have to do hard things in order to excel in life. But what is the problem? What is actually stopping us? And this is it, right? You just don't feel motivated to take on new challenges. Let's be real. You are overwhelmed by the responsibilities in life, how busy you are, the lack of time, the lack of energy, the stress about, finances, all these things. You don't feel motivated to take on more difficult things already, right? Makes complete sense. So maybe you're afraid to fail, maybe you're just too tired, whatever it is. But here is the unfortunate truth. When it comes to challenges, if you don't take on new challenges, right, society is going to decide the challenges for you. And I'll give you an example, right? If you don't take on the challenge of trying to learn more about finance or improve upon your finances, because it is a challenge, it's going to be difficult to do that. If you don't do that, then society now is going to push this new challenge on you to maybe your job, maybe just how life is. You're going to have this stressor where you're going to constantly have the challenge of having to keep up financially, right? So ultimately, yes, you don't have to take on challenges, but if you don't do it, then the world in general is going to push something on you that you didn't really choose. Like if you don't want to take on the challenge of trying to exercise and be healthy and watch your health and all these kind of things, then the challenge you have to actually deal with right now is you're eventually going to get weak and like sick or whatever it is, and now you have to deal with a whole bunch of challenges that is completely not up for you to actually decide on. So it was pushed onto you because you didn't take on a different challenge. And this is kind of the problem, right? This is what actually leads to burnout because many people face challenges that they don't care about, right? And this leads to burnout. If you have to work on something difficult, it's already difficult enough to do that. But you have to work on something difficult that you don't care about, that you didn't decide to do. Now that sucks even more, right? And that is actually what's going to lead to burnout because it's not the working hard that's a problem. It's working hard on something that you don't care about that actually matters. So the question that you really need to ask yourself is this. Are you tackling challenges with intention or are you simply passively reacting to the ones in life? Because life is difficult. Let's make that clear, right? Life is difficult, but the challenges that you come across, right? Did you choose those challenges or are you just kind of going on by and as challenges come by, you're just kind of dealing with them as they go, right? Because ultimately you have to decide one or the other. It's going to be difficult either ways. You may as well decide on intentionally tackling challenges. And the thing is, I know that many of you feel that you're already working hard. Um, and this is something that I've come from personal experience too. I work in healthcare. I know there's a lot of hard workers in the world, but just because you're working on something hard doesn't really make it worth your time. This is a bitter pill to swallow. This is something I had to learn personally through failures and challenges myself. That just because you're working hard doesn't mean you deserve anything or you're going to achieve anything, really. I think it's a lie that a lot of us been taught when we were in school or younger or whatever. People just say, just work hard, just do your best, and things are going to work out. The world doesn't work that way, okay? And a good example of this, a good example is that many jobs feel hard, but they're actually easy. And I'm going to give you, some examples of this. Basically, if you have a job and you feel like, oh, it's such a challenge, it's so difficult to do my job. But here's the thing, you follow instructions. There's no risk of failure. You just follow those instructions. You don't really have to think too much about things. You just do as you're told. And you've already probably done it for so long, for years already, that you mastered the routine. I know that in healthcare, at least right now, I've done it so many times that I already know exactly what to do, know what to expect. I just follow things and things are good. So yes, it's tiring. I have to physically do a lot of stuff, but it's easy, right? And I'm using healthcare as an example, but it can be anything. Maybe you're an engineer, you're a marketer, you're a lawyer, whatever it is, right? Yes, these jobs are hard inherently, but when you've done it enough, it slowly becomes easy. And I want to contrast this right now with actual challenges, right? Because real growth demands new challenges. There is most often a risk of failure. There is potential to develop new skills, and you will probably feel a little anxious, a little scared to take something on. That is a good indication that you're taking on a new challenge, something worth spending time on, right? So I want to just kind of put a clear distinction here because whenever I say something difficult, and for a long time I thought this, I just thought that my job itself was already difficult, right? But again, you need to understand that that's not enough. Your job is actually easy in the grand scheme of how we look at the gameplay loop because you didn't choose to do that, right? You're doing it because you want to get paid. And here's kind of my personal story, right? Because for a long time, I made this mistake. I thought that I did all this work going to school, basically going through this long process of trying to get certified to be a therapist and all these kind of things. And I thought that, okay, I can finally kick back, I can finally relax, and I can just kind of take it easy and just work my job. And yes, my job was challenging at the time, but I thought that that's all I had to do. I had to chill and just do as I was told, right? But it was that very thought, that very like action that kept me from growing because I just kind of accepted, I guess this is all I have to do right now. I did all the work. I can just go to my job and this would be enough. That's what's actually stagnated my growth. I actually start to feel anxious during this period of my life when I thought that I've gotten the dream job that I want. I'm working exactly where I want to work, but it wasn't enough, right? And really, when I reflect on the things that helped me grow, that helped me really push forward to that next stage, I realized that all the challenges that I took on had a huge risk of failure. I'm going to show you guys an example here, right? So some of the challenges that I took on is I started a YouTube channel about 2, 3 years ago. A little background about me is I'm a huge introvert, actually. I'm a little awkward, a little shy, and I got a lot better at it, right? But when I first started YouTube, it was so awkward. I was stumbling on my words. I was shy on camera. It looked terrible. You can even check out all the oldest videos I posted, they basically look bad, right? I committed to a long distance relationship with my wife at the time. And it was a 20-hour time difference. It was a high probability of failure. It was really difficult to do. I led my rehab team without compensation, right? I offered like, hey, I know that the last leader was retiring. I'm going to do it. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to offer myself to do it. And I also gave a lot of presentations on artificial intelligence and leadership at my job, despite me just being just a regular therapist, right? I took on all these new challenges, even though I was like, I don't know how what's going to happen. How is it going to work? I will probably fail, but I'm going to do it either ways. And honestly, it was so scary, and I did fail. Like I failed at YouTube with my wife too. I think it was a really difficult part in our relationship, all these kind of things. I failed a bunch of times. But each time I did so, each time I failed, I realized I got a little better. I grew and I grew and I grew and I gained all these skills and experiences, and it brought me to where I am today. Like I'm able to talk to a camera right now, a little bit more confident because I went through all those failures. So ultimately, what I want to kind of bring to you guys here is that we need to understand how do we do this? How do we take on challenges? Because if that is the key to initiating the gameplay loop, how do we even get started? Because it's easier said than done. Again, you're tired, you don't feel motivated, you don't want to do anything, you're overwhelmed with life already. So how do you actually do this? Because the thought of doing something challenging is really at the bottom of your list. And I understand if you're here, you're probably already burnt out. You're already feeling tired and all that. And me telling you to go do something difficult is probably going to overwhelm you more. So here's kind of where I want to lead you to, right? You have to ask yourself one question. What challenges excite you to take on? I think this is really, really important because again, there's everything is difficult, but there's probably some difficult thing in life that you're at least a little motivated, a little excited to take on and learn about. There has to be something. You need to find that thing. So what challenges actually excite you? Because just because something is difficult doesn't mean it can also be fun. Back to my example about playing video games, right? Just because a game is really difficult doesn't mean it can be fun. In fact, it adds to the fun when it's the right match. So don't fear difficult things or don't fear challenges. You try to see it in the different lights right now. And to help you understand why this is important, I want to talk about motivation. And a little background about me is I'm an occupational therapist. I help people regain their independence after they get hurt. That's my background in the rehabilitation service. And oftentimes I work with patients who have lost motivation, right? They went through a severe stroke, a brain injury, they broke their arm, their leg, whatever it is, right? They're at rock bottom. They don't think they can move and take care of themselves and walk. And I have to go in there and tell themselves they can. So not to brag or anything, but I do know something about motivation and how to motivate people. So I want to get into this. It's a very, very important part that you understand this. So there's two types of motivation. There's intrinsic motivation, and this is where you are motivated by internal factors, right? You find something interesting, something enjoyable, so you're motivated to learn about it, you're motivated to do it. And the focus really here is on acquiring new skills, personal growth, satisfaction of the process, basically doing something because you want to do it, right? And then on the other hand, we have extrinsic motivation. This is where you're motivated by external factors like money, outcomes, achievements. And the focus here is on obtaining a good trade for the effort that you put in. You're motivated because of what you're going to get out of doing something. Now, this is really cool here because this is an evidence-based study on motivation that I actually looked up and studied about. But the experiment here is basically in 1971, there was this psychologist, was named Edward Deci, and he did this experiment called the Soma Cube experiments. This is how the Soma Cube looks like. You can think about it as a Rubik's Cube, okay, whatever it is. But ultimately, he wanted to understand how does motivation affect people and how do we find people who are more motivated or less motivated or like what really impacts people, right? So ultimately, he found a group of people, he separated them into two different groups, and here's what he did. He asked them to solve this cube. The difference is that group one was offered money for doing it, and group two was not offered any money. So basically, he let them mess around with it, and then he was like, okay, now you guys can go on break, take the cube with you, but we'll come back later and solve it, right? Now, on the break, what he did was he continued to observe these individuals. And what he realized is that group one, the group that was offered money and compensation, they lost interest during the breaks. They put the cube aside, they didn't mess with it, whatever it is, right? They just want to go on break because they're like, I'm not getting paid for this, so I'm not going to actually put effort into doing this. But what was noticed is that group two, the group that was just told to solve the cube just for the fun of it, just to get data, they kept working on the cube. Even though they were on their break, they were genuinely curious about doing so. So what was actually concluded from these experiments is that extrinsic rewards, external rewards, actually kills your internal motivation. And this is no wonder so many of us feel burnt out and tired when we're just working for a paycheck. I think this was really powerful to understand because for a long time, we feel like we need to be motivated by the paycheck, motivated to get paid and all these kind of things. But that kind of motivations, in time, if the reward doesn't match the effort we have to put in, especially for the long term, it's going to drain and drain and drain us. So we need to find a way to implement intrinsic motivation, right? So the most important component here is that you need to understand that when you're choosing a challenge to take on, that you're intrinsically motivated to take it on. That's why it's so important that you ask yourself, what are the challenges that excite you? Because ultimately, if you want to do something for a long term, and keep in mind, the most meaningful rewards in life, like your health, financial freedom, relationships, all these things take a long time to get there. It might even take a lifetime to get there. So if you're only banking on extrinsic motivations to get you through, I promise you're going to burn out before you get there. So you need to find something that's going to sustain you for the long term, and that's intrinsic motivation, the internal drive to have purpose, curiosity, and joy for the thing itself. So that's at least what I want you to understand about motivation and how it relates to challenges. Because doing something is going to be difficult. So you need to understand how to get yourself motivated enough to do something. So if you don't know where to start, you have to start with yourself. If you're telling yourself, if you're asking yourself at this point right now, like, okay, I'm following through, I'm getting along, but I still don't know what kind of challenges to take on, right? Like, I'm really too busy. I don't know what I can do, right? You want to just start with yourself because what better place to start than just with yourself? And there are four key areas, at least, that I just kind of summarized where you can start focusing on yourself. You can start with your physical health. You can take on the challenge of trying to be healthier, fitter, stronger, whatever it is. You can start with that. You can start with your mental health, just basically trying to be a little bit more calm, manage your patience better, all these different things. You can work on your finances, of course. You can be like, okay, I'm not making enough money, whatever it is. That's something I'm going to be internally motivated to actually learn about and figure out. Or your skills, right? Like, what kind of skills do I have? If maybe you're working at a job for years, you develop a new skill. Now you need to develop another skill. Find something that you're actually curious to learn about. And that can be where you start. That can be the challenge you're creating. And you want to be internally motivated to do all these things. And keep in mind, there can be a lot of other options, but this is something at least that can give you a little head start. Because I want you to stop thinking about the external rewards for a little bit. Because burnouts right now, again, it's not just about not getting enough for what you're putting in, it's that we're working on the wrong things. So I want you now to focus a little bit more on taking on challenges that you care about. So these are some of the examples here. And when it comes to like how to do it, okay, so that you're seeing all this right here, you're like, okay, I want to start figuring out more about my finances. I think it's a pretty common point. A lot of people are going to be thinking about this. I want to start getting better with my finances. I want to take on the challenge of improving my finances, right? Figures, makes sense. So where do I even start? When it comes to how to start and how to do it, the best place to start is simply with education. People think they need to find a new job, they need to do all these crazy things, taking on a second job, get a promotion, all this stuff. No, you start with education. Okay. I think for a long time that we've been thinking of education as something that we only do when we're in school. But no, it can be done even in today's time. In fact, it's probably one of the most important components that you keep up with this. And ultimately, you don't know what to do because you don't have the knowledge of what to do, right? If you're not healthy, then it's because you don't have the knowledge on how to be healthy. If you don't believe you can be financially free, it's because you don't have the knowledge on how to be financially free. So knowledge is that one thing that basically kind of ties all those concepts together. If you don't know where to start, pick something and start learning about it. Because we have to be aware that we're very lucky right now that there's endless information in the world and skills for the taking. It's really just up to you to seek it, right? So I want to redefine learning a little bit because it's not just for school, right? It's for life. I think a lot of people see learning as something like, okay, I have to learn more means I have to go back to school. Or I have to learn more means I have to start reading more textbooks and all these kind of things, whatever it is. But that's not how learning works in the modern era, in my example. It's something that you can do in a much more fun way, and you can do it throughout life, not just by going back to school. Because the problem, at least the mistake that I did, was that I graduated and then I told myself, thank God I never have to read another book. I never have to learn again. I'm done with that life. I can just work and make money. That was my big mistake. Because ultimately, life has a lot of problems. And if you want to solve real life problems, you have to seek real life solutions. So you have to learn about it, right? I forgot this basic concept that we learned in school that if we want to learn and get better at something, we have to start by just educating ourselves. So I started educating myself about health, about finances, even about relationships, mental health. There's so many things in the world you can discover, right? And it's just up to you to just kind of seek it. So ultimately, I realized that if you want to start learning, if you want to start taking on new challenges, right, you have to kind of get into this concept that you have to learn outside of school. You don't have to get into school to learn, right? You want to leverage the information age because we're extremely, we're so lucky right now to live in this era right now where everything is literally a fingertip, like touch away, you can tap it, click on something, and you can learn anything in the world. I think we don't pay attention enough to this concept because we use the internet as something to find things that we need, entertain ourselves, but it's also a super hyper computer. Every kind of thing is in there that you can seek. Like if people from 20, 30 years ago would come to our era right now, they would be mind blown. but that they can seek everything. I don't know, like I used to have to go to like a library and all this kind of things to find things I need, and it was such a pain. Now I can literally just click it on Google and I can find something, I can learn about it, watch a 10, 20-minute video, whatever it is, right? So ultimately, you want to learn your way because everybody learns differently. Here's what I want to, because education doesn't have to be something that's boring. And it's not going to be boring if you're actually learning about something you care about. That is the key. And that's why I started with picking challenges that excites you, because you want to be intrinsically motivated here. Don't see learning as something that's a hassle, okay? Pick something that works for you. And I'm going to give you a few examples of how to do this. Now, I'm someone who likes listening to podcasts. I think it's something that you can do when you're learning on the go, when you're driving, when you're working out, you're cleaning, whatever it is. And podcast is one of those things where you can pick a topic like finances or health or anything, and you can hear two people basically just talking about it, right? Discussing it, giving you new perspectives about something. And ultimately, it's something that you can kind of shift to listening when you're on your drive home from work, or, kind of switch to like a little routine where you spend a few minutes a day listening to a certain podcast. And kind of break it up here. You can listen it to as fast as you want, 1.25, 1.5 speed, because I know these are pretty long. And when something does catch your attention, you can go back to it and listen again. So podcast is a really cool way to acquire information without the traditional sense of like reading a textbook. Okay, so I'm just showing you some examples that education can be fun. Books, of course, make sense, right? The benefit of books is that it provides a deep dive into very, very particular information. Like, I cannot stress this enough. If you're trying to solve something, find one of the top rated books of that problem you're trying to solve and just simply read it, right? But you don't have to read it from page to page because school has conditioned us to read very differently. We're trying to read because we have to memorize something, we have to pass a test. But reading in the more practical era is different. You can skip chapters, skip pages, heck, skip a whole book if you want, right? If it doesn't interest you. But when you finally find something that interests you, that applies to what you're trying to solve, you want to highlight it and note it down. That's how you learn from books, right? You're not just reading for the sake of reading. I think a lot of people read just to tell people like, oh, I read 10 books like this month or whatever it is. But don't learn that way. Have a problem you're trying to solve and then read to actually find a solution. That's at least how you learn, like in a more fun and sustainable way. You can use YouTube. I'm really, really big on this because YouTube is really the new TV right now. I know a lot of people use YouTube for entertainment and all this kind of stuff, but YouTube is a gold mine for information. If you're seeking anything, and I know there's a lot of people who are going to, be a little not going to share as useful of information, but there are a few creators on YouTube which are absolute gems. They are sharing information that people pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for back then, right? If you want to learn about anything, I promise you, learn about anything. YouTube it, search for it, and somebody's going to tell you step by step how to do so. And it's up to you to find someone that you relate to, right? And my suggestion, at least, my little tip for you is start a new YouTube channel. You want to build an algorithm based on what you're trying to learn. So if you're trying to be healthy, for example, you're trying to work on your health, then start a new YouTube channel and start finding only on that channel things related to health, maybe about diet, new workout routines, whatever it is, right? Start looking about that. And what YouTube's going to start doing is going to start recommending stuff to you. And this is up to you to kind of learn and discover and all this kind of stuff and just start subscribing, right? That's how you use YouTube to learn. And lastly, just to kind of carry on for that, is just articles. Now, all this kind of ties a little bit to YouTube because some people don't like to watch videos, they rather read stuff. But some of the creators that actually publish things on the internet, publish videos, right? You can actually go onto their page and all that, and they probably have a written article, a website, whatever it is, talking about very particular things that you want to learn about. So ultimately, you can read in a different way. You don't have to pick up a whole book. You can just go online and start seeking all these articles, seeking all these newsletters for more information. So these are just some examples of how to learn because I want to redefine how you really see education and learning because it's not really just about like sitting down and just getting from page to page and memorizing everything. It's literally finding a way to make education fun for you because you yourself are taking on the challenge, right? This is all about the learning process first. Because if you don't learn about something, then you're not going to believe you can get there. But the moment you start acquiring the information, now you're like, oh, I know how to get there. Oh, this is the next step I need to take. And then you start to believe in yourself a little bit more. And that's why this is the very first step of how to do it. If you don't know where to start, this is how you start. Okay. And I promise you, if you do this enough, your mindset will start to change and you will start to feel a little bit more progress because you're actually acquiring things that's going to help you grow. Rather than just kind of listening to everyone tell you something and going through the same routine, this is what's going to be the game changer that's going to shift the momentum in your favor. And the important thing is this. I don't want you to get trapped in the trap of just learning for the sake of learning. You want to remember that if you're learning, you want to learn with intention. Learn through the lens of a goal, right? You have something that you want. That's what we discussed, the self-awareness exercise in day number 1. You have something that you want to achieve. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's spending more time with the family. Maybe there's a particular skill, particular thing that you want to do. Learn with that goal in mind and seek solutions to help you acquire that goal, right? So basically, this is going to make learning a little bit more fun because, again, when you're in school, people are telling you exactly what to learn, what to memorize. We've been conditioned to learn that way. This is a whole new way of learning. You're learning right now to solve real life problems. So make sure you're practicing 2 things, okay? First thing here is that when you're learning something, actively think about how it applies to your problem. If I'm reading a finance book, for example, I'm actively thinking like, okay, this is my situation right now. What can I learn from this book? What can I learn from this video on how to solve the problem I'm going through? So you're going through this process, constantly thinking like, okay, which page is going to help me solve this problem, right? You're kind of scrolling through and all that. You're not just reading for the sake of reading. And second is you're making sure that when you find something that's useful, please write it down. Like, don't trust yourself saying like, I'm going to memorize that, I'm going to remember it. Write that thing down, okay? When you write this down, now you've recorded it, you've acquired information that you can use for the future. So don't get caught in the trap of simply learning for the sake of learning. Too many people do this, and it leads to the same problem that we're trying to deal with again, is that they burn out, right? Like you see a lot of people just kind of learning and learning and learning, but they don't have anything to apply it to. And that's why you get tired again, and you get back into the cycle that you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. You want to learn to solve a problem, make it more practical, make it more fun and sustainable. So that's really the bulk of what I wanted to show you guys. But now it's time to take action. Because it's not going to matter if you know everything that I taught today if you don't take action. So here's where things are going to change. Here's what's going to separate whether you actually are going to move forward or you're going to go back and kind of seek more solutions again, right? Because this is kind of the game changer. So ultimately, I want to help you learn with intention. So this is going to be a step-by-step process. And I'm going to simplify it as simple as possible. Because, and again, it doesn't even have to take a lot of time, right? Pick something that excites you and commit to overcoming. I don't care what it is. Pick something. It can be as simple and as silly as possible. Just pick something that you don't mind doing, like putting a little bit more effort into doing. Like, okay, maybe it's something that you can do right before you go to work, after you come back to work, whatever it is, your health, your finances, your relationship, your own personal mental health. Just pick something that you care about and say, this is something I want to solve. I'm going to commit to figuring out how to do it. Now, the next step is commit just 50 to 30 minutes a day to just seek knowledge on solving this problem, right? Just listen to some podcast, listen to a YouTube video, read a little book, whatever it is, just commit 15 to 30 minutes a day, okay? And lastly, just write down ideas that stand out to you. Just get into the habit of doing this. This is what's going to help you a little bit more right now. At least at this stage, when you're feeling stuck, when you don't know what to do, this is what you need to do first. And ultimately, I'm going to help you guys out by actually sharing a bonus resource, which is a worksheet that I created to guide you through this process. It is going to be linked in the chat as well as sent as an email to you. So while you're going through this process of step 1, 2, and 3, do have this worksheet open and you can go along with it. It should help organize your thoughts a little bit better and just simply try it out. If you can't do 15 to 30 minutes, do 5 minutes, do 10 minutes, just do something with it, right? Because you have to start to acquire new knowledge about something that you care about. And again, if you're still thinking like, man, I gotta learn, it can feel really hard, but it really doesn't mean you can't learn to enjoy it, right? Because ultimately, if you can spend hours working for somebody else, you can commit a few minutes to work for yourself. You're already burnt out working so much for a job, whatever it is, working for your family, taking care of all these other responsibilities. You have to dedicate a little bit of those resources for yourself. So if you don't know what challenges to take, dedicate that time into learning. Please do that, okay? Because that is going to be the first step. Now, at this point, I hope you understand an important concept about the gameplay loop. okay, is that it's not just about making the game easy, it's about choosing challenges that truly matter. This is really a core component of the gameplay loop, the challenge component, is that you're not trying to find a life where you can just kick back and escape and all that, because that's not what I'm trying to teach you. In fact, I don't really think a life like that exists. Like people who promise you like easy solutions, get rich quick schemes, all these kind of things, it's really it's too good to be true because it's not about making the game easy. It's about finding the right challenge that you care to take on. That's how you overcome burnout. It's not about escaping the work entirely. That's a concept that you need to understand. You're tired right now because you're working on the things that you don't care about. So whatever I taught today, the education component, figuring out motivation, that's how you start the gameplay loop. That's how you start the loop. And we're going to get into more about how to continue it. But this is simply just how you start first. You have to decide and choose to start. But now I want to ask you a question, okay? Do you believe at least that if you implemented what you know so far, that you will be at least successful to move forward? Do you believe that if you try to learn a little bit more, if you commit to being a little bit more intrinsically motivated to tackle on challenges, you at least move forward? Because I want to give you two options, right? Option one is you can, of course, take the information, go at it alone, and figure it out through trial and error. That's personally how I did it, right? I didn't have any guidance. I went through the process of trying to figure this out, learn things, fail, try again. But then I just want to offer you an option too, is that from my experiences, my pitfalls and all that, and to avoid the mistakes and save you time, and to fast track at least your success to get to where you want to be, I want to give you this guidance. And ultimately, this is a limited time thing that I'm doing as I'm continuing to build on the gameplay loop, is basically a gameplay loop mastery program. And how it really functions, essentially, is that it's a 4-week program. It's a proven program that I've tested out with my coworkers as well on how to actually transform your life into something where you're energized to go about it, you feel more fulfilled, and you're going to get more passion into your life. And ultimately, it's a program that builds upon the gameplay loop, everything I've been talking about already. It takes all these concepts and expands upon it. So that way you can get a deeper understanding of how to make it a little bit more practical, how it applies to your own life essentially. And ultimately, it's going to go through these 3 areas where you need to understand the challenges you need to take, you need to understand how to level up and grow, and you need to understand how to use rewards effectively. And really, this program is not just meant for anyone. It is meant for somebody who is ready to take action. They want more guidance. They want clear step-by-step instructions, and they want to start making a change in their life right now. And here's how it really works, because here's everything you'll get. Ultimately, I know that there's a lot of questions, so you will get private one-on-one coaching calls with me. This is something that I can get to know you, figure out what the solutions are. We can problem solve and brainstorm and really figure out how we can implement the loops game, implement the solutions into how you want to go about your life. There's going to be weekly mastermind calls, Q&A calls. I know you're going to have questions as you're going through stuff. This is something that I'm just kind of giving away because I feel that there's more things to be learned about all the concepts we're talking about. I'm trying to summarize everything and give you everything as great as possible in these challenges, but there's a lot more to the gameplay loop that needs to be kind of asked and figured out upon. There's going to be exclusive private access to a group where if you have any questions at any time, if you want to mingle with more people who are going on this journey with you, you can also access this group to ask the questions, get the support you need. And ultimately, my goal is to give you a customized blueprint so that by the end of the 4 weeks, you know exactly what you need to do, you know exactly where you need to go. And I'm going to take out all the guesswork for what you need. So essentially to give you a customized blueprint of how you're going to create and design your own gameplay loop. And there's a lot more other little goodies here, but this is going to be the main thing that you're going to get. Now, ultimately, right now, as I'm doing this cohort version, I want to make sure that this is something that's valuable to you, as well as something that is also something that is going to be valuable enough that you will believe enough in it. So I'm only going to do this for $199 because I believe that at least at this point right now, I want to acquire as much information and help you guys as much as possible. So if you are interested in this offer, you can go ahead to Christian1. This is my name. My last name is wan.com/now. It's also going to be in a link in the chat. And ultimately, I only want to do this with 10 people. I don't want to make this something where we're going to have a lot of people and just trying to get everyone through. I want to work one-on-one personally with people who actually believe in the solution, believe in everything that I've been talking about, and really guide you to get there. Because if you don't get to where you want to be, then the solution that I'm sharing isn't useful enough to you. So I want to customize it, create it in a way that you can implement and you can start to see progress in your life. Because I want to make sure that if you're joining this, you're feeling like you're getting your values worth. So again, here's the link, christian1.com/now. You can check it out. Click the link below if you want to learn more about it. I just want to kind of provide that offer to you. And I'm so confident in what I'll be sharing is that if you aren't happy 2 weeks into the program, right, you take it, you're learning it, this is not for me, you get a full refund, no questions asked. Okay, you get everything you get from week 1 and 2. You can take it away, use it however you want, and you still get your monies back. So really, if you're interested in starting, if you think you need more guidance, I don't see a better deal than actually going with it. I mean, if you really think about it, people spend so much money going to school, trying to get a degree and everything. All this information and all the things that I've been learning for the last 4 years, right? I've condensed it in a way to kind of guide you through this process to really skip all the burnout and all the hardships that you'll be feeling. So again, if you feel like it's in your gut that it's time to move forward, that you know deep down you need a change, that you believe that you're meant for so much more in life, please don't wait. Take action now. Your future self is counting on you. Because the other solution is that you try this out, you think it's kind of difficult, you don't really implement it, and then we are back at step one where we feel burnt out again and we're just hoping for change, right? We have to take action now because a year or two later, you don't want to look back and realize like where did the time go? I felt that way at least when I was working. I was going through this whole process of feeling burnt out, and I just kind of look back. I was like, where did the time go? I'm just like 2, 3 years older, and I'm still at the same spot, right? So I want to give the solution at least, and this is what I'm hoping to do. So I truly believe that everyone deserves a success and a more fulfilling life. I'm just an optimist that way. I believe in people. So whether you decide to do it alone or you want to go on your own journey, whatever it is, I am for you. Okay. But please try your best to implement what you learned today, because already what you learned today is the foundation of what's going to help you move forward. So this is going to be what's going to help you move closer to the life that you want. So we're really at the end of the challenge today. It's all about understanding how to reframe challenges, how to really, I guess, take those first steps to learning and moving forward right now. So do check out the worksheet. It's going to be very, very powerful. And yeah, learn. So again, if you're interested to learn more about it, you can check out the link here. It should be in the chat right now. If not, I will see you in day number 3 where we'll kind of close things out, finish up everything strong, complete the whole gameplay loop so you can kind of take something away to build the life that you want. So if there's any questions so far, I'll hang on a little bit more longer in the chats here. Just let me know. I hope you guys gained something valuable away from this. This is everything I'm sharing. It's created from personal experience, and it's also something that I truly believe in. And I'm simply teaching things that I wished I knew when I was in this exact spot, right? I wish I knew all this information. I wish that someone has told me these things, and that's why I want to share with you. So yeah, hopefully it's as practical and useful to you as it was to me. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, you guys. I really look forward to seeing you guys in day 3. It's going to be a fun one here. But that's really about it. Any questions? If there's no questions, maybe you can give me a thumbs up or anything, and then we should be good. All right, looks like everyone's good here. So thank you so much. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Oh, Miriam, I see Miriam here. Do you have a question, Miriam? Miriam, I hope I didn't butcher your name. All good. Oh, okay. No worries. Please let me know if you have any questions. There will be an email sent to you too, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Take care. Thanks for joining, and I'm excited to see you guys for day number 3. We're gonna close out strong. All right. Happy weekend. Enjoy your weekend, you guys. Alrighty.